What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my kitchen. On today's episode of Chanyata Chef, we're going to be canning some pickled jalapenos. We're going to start off by giving our peppers a quick rinse just to knock off any dirt or anything that might have accumulated on them from out in the garden. So after I give them a quick rinse, I like to toss them out on a towel, let them kind of dry off a little bit. This batch, for the recipe, you're going to need 60 to 70 jalapenos. And then before I get started on all my slicing, I went ahead and I put my jars in the oven. Now you're going to need to do something to sanitize your jars. You can boil them, you can put them in the oven, you can do them in the microwave, I believe. I've seen some people do it in the dishwasher. I like doing them in the oven, so that's 275 degrees for 20 minutes to sterilize my jars. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our jalapenos into slices. So what you want to do is you're going to want to cut the little tip off and then also cut off the stem piece and then cut it into slices. Now you might have a better way of doing this than me. You know, you might want to put it and run it through your mandolin or something like that. I do them by hand just because I like a little bit thicker of a slice than what my mandolin will do. So I just go ahead and do them all by hand. Plus, I don't mind doing the slicing. I kind of enjoy it. Now, by no means do you have to wear gloves while you're doing this. But if you don't wear gloves, be cognizant. Do not touch your face. Don't touch your eyes. Stay away from your nose. Your fingers are going to have all that capsaicin on them. And if you touch yourself, you will regret it. So now I've got all my jalapenos sliced. My cans are doing their thing in the oven. I have got 3 cups of water in this pot starting to warm up. To that, I'm going to add 3 cups of vinegar. I am going to add a third a cup of salt. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And then last but not least, I am going to add a good healthy half teaspoon of vinegar. And we're going to bring this up to a boil and the jalapenos will go into the brine. A half a teaspoon of garlic powder, not of vinegar. I'll put all of those measures down in the description. Pro tip, light a candle. Your whole house is going to smell like vinegar. So our brine reached the simmer, so I went ahead and added the jalapenos to the brine. You're going to go ahead and just stir these every once in a while. We turned the temperature down to low, down to simmer. So you'll start to notice that they'll go from that bright green to more of that drab olive green that you see in a more like the concession stand jalapenos that you get with nachos and stuff at the ball games. So we're just about done here. You're going to want to go about 12 to 15 minutes. You can see that they've kind of gone that much more drab olive color. So now we're going to start canning them up. And if you do not have one, I would super recommend getting yourself one of these little canning funnels. It makes these sort of tasks so much easier and less messy. So now we're going to grab our piping hot jars out of the oven. Do a couple of them at a time so they stay nice and hot. We're going to put our funnel in, our canning funnel, and then we're going to ladle out straight into the jars. When you're filling the jars, kind of pour off a lot of the brine and just get the peppers into the jar so you can get the jar nice and full. And then you can come back later and you can add brine to it. Take a little spoon or something. You might even have to use the handle end of it. Kind of pack them down in there a little bit. Make sure you really get your jars full. And while you're getting your jars filled up, back here on the back of the stove in another little side pot, put your lids in a little bit of water and get your lids brought up to temperature also. Now that you've got the jalapenos into the hot sanitized jars and got the lids put onto them, you can go one of 2 directions from here. You can either put them in the refrigerator and keep them that way, or else if you want to be able to store them unrefrigerated, you're going to need to boil them for 10 minutes to create a good seal on that lid and make sure that you've killed all the bacteria that might have been inside or on that jar. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and finish mine. I'm going to boil them for 10 minutes so I can go ahead and store them down in the basement and get to them whenever I get to them. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment for me down in the comments section. And until next time, guys, we'll see you.